All right, so this is part 2 of this video tutorial, and I'm going to show you how I bring this into Blender. And I decided on this tutorial, I'm just going to mostly focus on just regular textures and materials, as well as using Material Works by Blender Bros. I just thought it was it's really good for doing metals and composite stuff, and just real easy to use. And again, you don't have to do any UVs. So this is just a quick, easy way to create some scenes. Again, this is not for a game or anything like that. This is just for a basic, rendering of a scene or animation of something, So anyway, just thought I'd show you the creation of bringing this into Blender and my process for that. So anyway, I'm going to leave the square as it is. I'm going to go ahead and go to File. And I'm going to just go ahead and hit the Import OBJ. Again, this is my preference just because I like to bring it as OBJ. Now, if I go to where I actually located this, I'll bring this in. All right, so I'm now in the folder where I actually put my objects, and I'm going to go ahead and bring this in. So I called it Floor Panel 1B OBJ. One thing I'm going to definitely do is reduce this down a little bit in my scale, like 0.5, because I realize it's a little bigger than I like, because this square that's here is like 6 by 6. If you use it in feet. And I want to, basically smaller than that. So doing about half of that. So I'm going to make sure I put this on Z so it's on the up axis. And again, I'm going to use this Y. And I'm going to keep everything the way it is and import the file. So basically, I'm going to have it going this way. You can actually rotate it if you want. So if I don't want it that way, I could always go back and just say import, again, OBJ. Depends which direction you want it, right? So if I want it on the X, then that way it will actually be more like this. And if I don't want it that way, without going through all that hassle, I'm going to import. And let's say you want a 180 degrees difference, then I would go back in here, again, select it, and I would do the negative X basically. There we go. And that's kind of what I want to look at right there. I want this to be kind of all in the same direction. So let's go ahead and now take this and delete it. It's out of my way. And what I've done here is I created some piping as well, which is these things here. I just thought that'd give some interest. I've also added these little small things here for lights. So basically emission type of objects. So I'm going to select these sections right here, all 4 of them. And I'm going to also select these 2 in the front, because I'm going to make these just one emission color, basically. Definitely don't want that one or that one or that one. So let's just control and deselect those, right? All right. So now I got 6 of these things selected. We're going to hit Control J. So it becomes like basically one object. It's kind of what we're looking at. Now, a lot of things I will do too is I'll go ahead and just take all this so it's just simpler. Select each of these and kind of make it its own object again. So it's just one object. So in case I want to change something, it's just easier just to do the whole thing. So I got all selected again, Control J, and I make it into one. This one and this one, for instance, again, Control J. And this is on its own. This can be the same as most likely this one here. Now, one thing I'll do before I do that is I'm going to actually do a line of these just to kind of give it some interest. And again, I'm going to do more panels, of course, but for this tutorial, I'm just doing the one. So I'm going to go ahead and actually select all these right here. And I'm going to go to the Z. And what I want to do is just kind of reduce this down. So I'm going to do scale, and I'm going to hit the actual on the X. So that way it's only going in this direction, right? And I want to shrink it down so it's pretty much out of the way and kind of encompassing both sides. So now I'm going to hit the G key and again the X. I'm going to move this inward. Just kind of like that. Cool. And again, I'm going to be adding multitude of these just to kind of give it some interest so it won't be a problem. All right, so this is the way I would do my scene. Number 1, I'd go ahead and go to cycles right away. Now, if you don't have a good card and you want to do it in Eevee, go right ahead. And it works great for the actual emission effects, which is great. I'm also doing this in cycles, and I'm actually adding in the actual compositing as well. So that helps with the way I like it. And it does a much better rendering to me. So, all right. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to the actual shading section here. And in here, I'm going to actually add in, I'm going to make sure I put this on cycles again. I want to add in a world, basically a HDR file to make it look nice. And what I normally do in here is I just kind of bring this down a little bit. And if you don't already have something here selected, just go and bring out your color. And you're going to look for your environmental texture, right? And I'm also going to bring in one of the Material Works basic HDR as well. So I'm going to do that right here. And then here I got my file. So I'm going to go with the actual Studio 7. I like that one for specific reasons for certain things. And I'm going to say open image. And now that I've got this, it's kind of a big file, right? I'm also going to use the actual Control T on this, which brings in the Node Wrangler. Now, if you don't have Node Wrangler, just go ahead and go to your actual add-ons or preferences and add-ons and add in Node Wrangler. Okay, I'm not going to go over that process. It's a lot of tutorials are out there that explain that. Anyway, so I brought this in. And one thing I always like to do is I normally turn this at a certain angle to kind of get some good lighting. And I normally go around 225, somewhere in there in most of my situations. And kind of good with that. And it gives a nice little bit of, shadows and things like that. So I'm going to stick with that for right now. I might change it, down the road. But right now, I'm going to stay with this. So that's world. So I'm going to go back to object so I can start working this. Now, one thing I'm going to do right off the bat is I'm going to go over here to the top view, and I want to add in a actual plane. So go ahead and go to Mesh, Plane, and I'm going to scale this up quite a bit. Now, I'm just going to use this to kind of help me drive just a nice looking floor. And with that said, I'm going to hit the G key, and on the Z, I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to bring it right to kind of near the base of this. Could even go a little bit farther into it. I don't really care. Again, I'm just giving, I just need a floor to help, capture everything here. All right, so on the floor here, I'm going to say new. And I'm going to use more of a dark gray color with a metallic. And I'm also going to bring down the roughness. I want to have it a little bit shiny just to kind of break this up a little bit. And I kind of like that for now. I might even go a little bit more. And then I could always add more lighting, down the way for now. So anyway, I just want to start off with just the basics. And we'll go back and adjust things as we need them. Okay, so there's that. So a few things I'm not going to do. I'm not going to use you can. Let me just show you what I mean by this. If you bring this out under layout, and I'm going to Material Works again. I'm going to go ahead and just start using this and kind of get this kind of all set up here. Now on the material, you'll come out and you'll get all kinds of options here. And the first thing I want to do is I want this to be kind of a plastic color. I do not want to have a metal. So I'm going to go here and just go to plastic. And then within Material Works, there's a section here that says shiny plastic. I'm going to go ahead and select this for now. I'm also going to select down the color, and you got to put in like 10 in here to help, drive the color that you have here if you want that, or you can make it darker or lighter just by this number here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to select an orange color. And I feel like this is darker, which is fine. I'm going to bring it down a little bit more. And I don't want it to be metallic. I just want this to be like a sleeve of plastic, just to kind of give it a different look. And another thing that I'll do in here a lot of times is I will change the amount of scale on this. Because if you zoom in on something like this, plastic looks okay, honestly. So I'm okay with the size on this one, but most of the time I'm always doing like 4, 8, or 10 or something like that. But anyway, I'll just put 4 here for now. So that's the first one. Second, I'm going to use a galvanized on this and on this one right here just to kind of add some differences here. And I'm going to go back to here and go to metal. And I'm going to select on this again. And this time I'm going to go with a galvanized, more of a machine steel, I guess we'd call it. So we could select this for now. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I want to make sure that I actually add in tin here too. And I want to make sure it's metallic. And I'm going to bring this down. Now, for some reason, it's only doing this one, right? And this could be holding me up is sometimes in here, you have an extra texture or material, which came with plasticity. So I'm just going to minus this like that. And now I got the color, right? Now, I definitely want to bring this up a little bit more. I think it's a little too dark. And I'm going to go closer to what I'm doing here. Now, it's a little bit too big in my opinion. And I mean, I would definitely bring this texture down. I'm going to go with 8. And that helps kind of derive more of just a galvanized type look, or just this looks nice this way. I'm good with that for now. And yeah, that looks good. And then I'm also going to go and select these, and we're just going to go back to your shading section here. And in here, I'm going to also just delete that. So I can go here and just say, I don't want this. I want to start from scratch. And I'm going to say new. You don't even have to use this if you don't want to. I'm actually going to just delete this. Oops, I don't want to delete that, just this one. And I'm going to bring out emission only. Just, it's easier for me for this reason. I'm going to use more of a blue color. And I don't want it to have anything but that. So blue. And again, I'm going to bring this up to like 9 or so. And you can get a little closer to see what we got here. And it kind of makes it more of a lighter color, which is fine. Even bring it down a little bit, something like this. And I think that looks nice. Now that's not the end of the colors, of course, but this is just to help start the process. All right. So now I want to go in here and I want to also add in some more colors. So I'm going back to layout. And I really want these and these panels here to be on the same color. So I'm going to select both of these. I'm also going to select this one here, this one, and this one. So all these are all the same. And again, I'm going to go and delete the colors on that one. I'm going to add in a new color. So again, I'm going to select metal, and I'm going to go this time with more of a, I'm going to go with the actual polished aluminum, this one here. Now I'm going to go back to this, and what I want to do is, again, make this 10 again. And it seems like it's only, again, going to this one, which is fine. We can adjust that. I'm going to go here and actually add in more of a orange, just like we had before. And let's see where that's affecting. See here, you could tell it's orange, right? But from the angle, you couldn't tell because the light's really shiny. And you see there's a lot of material here that is just a little bit rough. So I'm going to actually scale this up to like, I think maybe even 12 on this one. I don't want to see any of that stuff. And again, I want to make sure that everything's kind of the same as this one. So now if you go to material, you can say this is actual polished aluminum. This one is not. So again, just because I selected them all, it actually maintained everything. So we can just get rid of these. Just minus everything here. Same with these. Minus. And these. Minus. And then we can just go back in and say, I want this to be that same orange. So this is go to polished aluminum. Again, polished aluminum. And we'll just do every one of these. I'm just trying to get a nice color identified right off the bat. Just like that. Okay, cool. Now, I think the color is fine. I might just do some changes to this a little bit. So if I want to change it, go back to layout. It's all set up pretty much for layout, so it's just kind of one of those things you got to go back and forth a little bit. Now, if I want to kind of change the amount of, metallic here, you could actually bring this down a little bit. And it does help kind of reduce some of it. And you could also change this down, and that helps bring down the color here. And it does make it darker, which is nice. So I might just bring it down a little bit more. This way it has a nice color to it. I might actually make this even a little darker. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit more. Not too much. Right about there. All right, cool. So I think that looks nice. Now, if you don't want to use the material, you don't have to. So for instance, now that I've got all these kind of together, I'm just going to select them all. Get them all kind of, connected here. I'm also going to select this one. Make sure everything's selected. These. And I'm not going to do a Control J, so they're all basically on the same. This way, I don't really have to do a lot of work to this. Now, I might just make this into my own colors for now. I just think I might get a better orange. So again, you go back and forth, whatever you think is best. I'm just going to head and just get rid of this. I'm going to do a new. And in here, say if you don't have material works, this is another option. So you just go in here and kind of add your colors that you want. I'm going to make sure this is metallic. And I'm also going to bring this down. And this will help drive more of a shiny color. And I'm going to keep that at 1. I'll keep this at like 3.15, somewhere in there. Just bring it up a little bit more. I might make this just a little bit darker. And again, a lot of it has to do with your angle, also of your HDR file. So if it's too bright, you can always rotate it a little bit. I kind of want to get a nice orange out of this, metallic wise. Anyway, I'm going to be adjusting the lighting a little bit more here. Okay, so with the lighting, I really don't, it's a little bit too harsh for me. I'm going to take this down actually, and then increase the strength here. So I'm going to rotate this down quite a bit. So probably about 100 something. And what that does, it just takes the light so it's not so harsh, and it helps drive more of a relaxed color. So about there, I think that is much better looking. And what I could do here is also drive this up a little bit, just to kind of add a little bit more light to it, just like that. And I think, that makes this a little bit too bright now. So I would even go back to Material Works here, just kind of reduce some things down. So in here, like for instance, I would take this down a little bit more, like something like that. And I could even bring it in a little bit more toward that color there. All right, cool. And I think that looks nice. And again, we're still going to keep continuing to kind of adjust these as we need it. So basically on this orange here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my own, basic color here. I just think it'd be easier if I do that. So I'm going to go RGB. I'm going to select 0. I'm going to keep this at most likely 1. And I think here, let's see how this is going to look. I did this number earlier, so I kind of know what I'm doing here and what I want. Tab. Yeah, I think this is a much nicer orange. Just like that. Okay, cool. All right, so let's keep working this. I want to change the look of these things here. I want this and this to be the same color, basically, even though there's two different parts, which is fine. I'm going to go back again to layout. And in here, I'm going to go back to material. And I'm going to select, this time, Cyber Titanium. So I'm going to select that. And I'm going to make this again 10. And I'm going to bring this up to more of a darker gray, like that. And as you see here, this is kind of too big. So again, I'm going to make this like an 8. Start with that first. Yeah, that looks nice. Now, would even go a little bit darker than this. I kind of want it nice and dark. It goes nice with the orange. So that's this one. This one has the same problem. We got this here, right? We really need to take this and this one and just Control J it so it becomes 1. See how it kind of just took on the properties? That's what we want it to do. And I'm also going to do this as well. So yeah, I think that looks nice. I'm going to actually now go in here and use a different metal just to kind of give it some varieties. I'm going to use polished aluminum on this one. And again, here, I'm going to put 10 again. And I kind of want to make this not too dark. And again, I think, again, we need to put this a little higher on this. So we'll do this at 8. And that looks nicer. And I might just go ahead and bring this down a little bit. Let's bring this down just a little bit. I don't want it exactly the same as the top. I want it a little bit lighter. All right, I think that looks nice. And then here, we're going to add some more. We're going to also just minus this right off the bat. This is the extra plate that I put on top, just to kind of give it some variety. And again, I'm going to use, this time, use the Midnight Steel. And in here, again, let's go and go with 10. There we go. And we can also change the color here. It kind of goes like bigger and bigger, bigger. I think I might change this one. I think I might go with a different one here. Let's go with a steel of some sort. I'm going to go with the graphite steel. Let's see how this looks. This kind of has a kind of a speckle. And again, we can make this a little bit, maybe a little bit bigger. Let's do 4. And it kind of helps, kind of gives it a variety of colors there. And again, 10. And I'm definitely going to bring this a little bit darker. Actually, might even go darker than the other part. I think this will be a little bit brighter. Something like that. All right, so another thing that I want to do, I want to take this and use the same shading as the orange. And we can do that by just selecting it, this one. There we go. And I also want to take these, all 4, move them, this one, and shift this one. And again, Control J, so it becomes 1. Again, we can just get rid of this. And here I'm going to add another material. Again, back to layout. This will be more of a lighter color. So I'm going to go back to material. I'm going to go back to the metal. I'm going to go with titanium here. Let's go with maybe 10 here. Enter. All right, and we can actually go in here now and just kind of change this to more of darker, maybe a little bit lighter, not too dark. This way it kind of breaks it up a little bit. I wanted to use the same thing on this one, so Go back to my shading. And we got, this is coated titanium. We'll do the same thing here. Coated titanium. I just think that looks nice. And we could do the same thing here. Coated titanium. And I want to change a few things, like for instance, all right, so I'm going to go in here and change a couple more colors. I kind of think this would be kind of nice if this was separate from the other one. This felt like it would be a different opportunity here. So I'm going to select these two sections here. Select basically the linked, just like that. And then I'm going to go to mesh, separate, selection. And then I'm going to go back to this object mode. And I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of this. So I kind of want to go with the same as this one. This is polished aluminum 1. So we're going to go ahead and do that here. Polished aluminum 1. And just gives it a nice, variations between the two. And just kind of makes it look like it's a separate part, right? Now I want to go in here and kind of change this as well, because this is a little bit too big on the actual scale. Because you can see the little dots everywhere. And I want to try to reduce that down. So in here, I'm going to change the scale down to like, most likely like 8, hit enter, and that looks a lot better. And now I could actually go in here and do the same thing. This can be another color. So we can maybe do the same as this one, which would be the graphite steel. So this one could be graphite steel. And to do it right, it'd be better to go into the material works and do that. Okay, so a few things I want to do. I want to go in here and kind of just take this and kind of change it similar to this one. So if I go back to shading, you'll see that this one here, we can just, again, go back here, delete this for now. And this is what I want, coated titanium. So I'm going to do this outer one as coated titanium, just to give it a nice breakup of color. So again, coated titanium. And then here, I'm going to add in more of this darker color. So we can again get rid of this one. And we could add more of a darker color. Graphite steel might be good, just to kind of give it a variation here. I just think that has a lot more, color to it. It just adds a nice color. Okay, cool. Another thing we can do is, since we already got that already selected, let's go ahead and select like this pipe here, shift. And again, we can select, let's take these away. And we can also do the same as what we just did here. Actually, we'll go with coated titanium, I guess we'll go with. So again, this is, select this one, minus, pull it down, coated titanium, and same thing with this one. I just want to have a couple of them that are same. And then this one, we can actually add in, we can take this one away as well, and do a new one. And this one will go with machine steel. Just gives it a variation of steel colors in there. I'm not going to see those anyway. It's just giving a different look to it, right? So a couple things to add to this to make it just pop is adding some lighting in here as well. And I'm going to go ahead and add that now. So I'm going to go right to light source, and I'm going to bring in basically a point light. The point light is really good for just helping, drive just a nice light, and it's really easy to do. I'm going to go ahead and just get this here and move it over. So I'm going to go to the Z axis, and kind of just Z axis. And I'm going to move this light right where I need it. So let's go ahead and hit the G key. And we're going to move it right over here, right in the center of this spot, right? And I'm going to also, I don't want it too big. I just want it right by 0.02. And I'm also going to drive a nice blue color here just to really add to this. I'm going to also bring this down to like 2.5, something like that. And I might make this just a little bit darker just to kind of, just make it look more bluish. Maybe right about there. And I think that looks nice. There's a nice fall off. And one thing to keep in mind is wherever this is at, you kind of want to make sure that it's in a good location. So it's above right now, right? And I kind of want it to go down a little bit. So I'm going to hit the G key on the Z and just bring this down like about here, just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to do a Shift D, G, and I'm going to go on the Y, or I'm sorry, X, and bring it over. And the same thing, just line it up right there. Okay. I'm also going to take these two lights, both of them. Just trying to save some time here. Deselect that one. Make sure these are selected. I'm going to Shift D these. I'm going to hit G, and on the Y, I'm going to bring these back the other way. So G on the Y, I'm going to go pretty much right where I have these things, right? And I'm going to bring this back up, G on the Z. And what I'm doing here is just adding in some lighting, G on the X, actually on the Y, and bring this back just a little bit. I'm adding in some nice coloration here. And I'm going to bring these up a little bit just to add in some intensity here. I actually might bring this up just a smidgen as well. And I kind of want to just take each of these and move them. So go back to the Z. And we can see right here, I want to kind of get close to these holes here. So G on the X, I'm going to bring it right there. We'll take the other point light that's here, G on the X, and we'll bring it this way. Cool. This will really add a lot of just a nice light in here, basically. So now I can select both of these. We can actually just bring this down just a smidgen more. We can also move it a little bit on the Y, kind of like this. Yeah, that's going to look really nice. All right, so that's that. Yeah, this will add a lot of coloration here, which will be nice. All right, so this is really starting to come together. I really like the look of this. And a few more things I'll do is add a few more together so it actually looks better. But I'm going to add a few more lights in here just to kind of get things kind of, in the right direction. So I'm going to select this light here. And this light is, I think, I'm not sure what this light is supporting. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this for now. It's the outside light. I don't want this. It comes with the startup, of course. So I'm going to create my own lights now. So let's go ahead and add in a actual light that is going to be an area light. These are just really nice to use. And again, I'm going to use the G key here once it came in and bring it upward, right? And this is just a really good way to kind of, just add some light to your scene. Now, I might want to add in a little bit more of a bluish color just because I'm trying to give some nice blues. And I'm going to go to the front here and I'm hitting the G key here on the X. And I'm going to move it over this way. I'm going to rotate this here just like this. Kind of help bring a light down to the other side here. Now, one thing you can do is I'm going to change this from a rectangle or square to a rectangle. And I'm actually going to bring this now outward to make sure that it really pulls the light to the side. I'm also going to bring this up a little bit more. And it'd be nice if I kind of just rotated this a little bit more upward so I can get a nice reflection off the actual side here. All right, cool. I think that looked really nice. So I'm going to also go to Z and actually do a Shift D of this light. And I'm going to do a G on the X and move it over here, basically the same distance. And again, I'm going to go back to the front of this, which is pretty much this way. And this time I'm going to rotate it the opposite way, kind of like this. So I'm trying to hit it on both sides. Now, if I go back to this distance here, I almost kind of want to just get a nice setting right here. And I want to see how this looks at this point. I think right here would be good. So when I do it like this, if I have this all set up, I can select the camera and just do a Control Alt and then 0. And this will help zoom right in on your area here. I'm actually going to hit the G key and I'm going to move this a little bit back. And I'm also going to go a little bit on the Y, just like this. And then I'm going to move it closer like this, just like that. I'm trying to get a nice position on this, to kind of see what this looks like. Okay. So I've got all that done. I'm now going to do a little bit more stuff. So this is the fun part. I'm going to add in a bunch of decals to kind of help just add some, coolness to this object here by adding a lot more stuff to it. All right, so I thought I'd share my actual decal pack with everyone. And this is an actual rendered image of the scene I just did without any decals added. And I'm going to show the differences between just adding a few decals to really, just add in some more detail without spending a lot of time. So here we go. So I'm going to get out of this basically. And I'm going to focus on one area just to start off with. And now we just basically have one plate. So with this decal pack, it comes with a lot of different things. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to pretty much try to focus in on things that we want to do. So, all right, so we're going to hide everything but the two things I want to work on. So these two here, I want to work on these two. I selected them. I'm going to go now to the actual selection. And I want to select the invert, right? And I'm going to hit the H key just to hide those, get those out of my way. I don't want anything but those two things. It just makes it much easier when you're working on stuff to kind of just move them out of your way. So I'm just going to go closer here. We're going to start adding some screws to kind of help support the actual thing being locked down. And you hit the D key on decal and it comes up, and I got a lot of different things. I have a low res screws. I have high res screws. So high res screws would be something that you're going to get close to. You're doing basically a high resolution image of some sort, and you're getting right close to the screw. Then it might be worth doing the high res. But personally, low res would be fine for mostly everything because it's real close and it's really small image files compared to these. So we're going to make sure we actually select this object first. And we're going to hit the D key again, and we're going to go ahead and select one of these. I'm going to go ahead and select this one for now, just for fun. And you see kind of displaced it here, which is fine. This is a low res one too, by the way. And it's kind of hard to tell, but it is. So now I'm going to shrink this down with an S. Just kind of get it closer and closer down to where it needs to be. I don't want it too big for something like this. So I'm going to now hit the G key and kind of move it into place. Now, I try to place these things mostly on edges away from the edge because it will bleed into the other side of this corner. If you don't do that, you have to do some workaround to make that fixable. But anyway, I think this is just simple this way. And what I do with this now is I do a Shift D and I just kind of create copies of this and just place them where I think I need more of these put, basically. It's very simple to do. Shift D again. And we're going to continue with this. Shift D. And probably put one here somewhere in the middle. Again, a lot of eye and coordination here, just trying to get it placed where you think it should go. And I'm going to get a little closer. You gotta kind of make sure that you're kind of able to see what you're doing. Okay, Shift D. And here, I'm just going to do one side just because it's easier this way. Shift D. And I'll put one right about here. Okay, cool. Now this one I might move up just a little bit. G. Kind of like let's see, maybe right here. Okay, so now you got these placed, right? I'd like to make sure that we do the right thing here. I want them to actually be onto the surface. So to do that, we're going to select each of these with the Shift key. Pick them all. And a couple things we can do here just to make it easier. We could just do a Control J, so it's basically one surface now. And we can also do the D key here, and we can project. I normally use the Alt key, hit the project, and I just bring this up and let go. And it kind of snaps onto the surface, right? Because the surface is all one smooth surface and there's no raises on this, it just works really well with this one surface. And I can get away with adding these to one. So it just makes it easier in some sense, you know. All right, so now I've done that. Another thing we can do is we can add in a little bit of height to this. So if I hit D, you could actually change colors. We can adjust. So in adjust, if you hit the D key, you can do the parallax and kind of just form the parallax to kind of come up a little bit. And again, I wouldn't go too high on these things, just a little bit to kind of give it some depth to it, you know. And that's really all you got to do. It's that simple. And once you've done that, now we can actually, basically, we could also, let's see what kind of colors we can do. So if you go back to D again, we could do a match. We could actually rotate this, kind of change the colors, just give it some varieties. We can make it titanium, just different things we can do. And these are kind of all the textures that you pretty much have or materials that you already have. So I'm just going to go with more like a dark gray, something that you can see. I don't want too dark, I think. Right there would be good. Now you can actually hit the S key and again, D key. We can go here now and kind of rotate this as well. So you can hit the Shift key and rotate it, and that changes the actual edge. We can make them bright. We can change the color, dark. I kind of like this, so I'm going to go with that. Now, all those have been changed because it's all basically one decal, even though there's a multitude of them. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. So now these are basically flat on the surface. So at an angle, it won't look good. You know, you got to think about when you're doing your camera work that you kind of have some type of angle to them. If you're flat on the surface, it's going to be a flat map. That's what it is, you know, unless you make the actual the model itself to reflect a surface. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your animation or renderings, that you kind of try to keep away from edges like that, especially for a long period of time. Okay, so now we've created this. It's going to be real simple. I'm basically using hard ops. You can also do it with mirror, but I personally like hard ops because it just makes it so much easier. I'm just going to use the mirror here and kind of zoom out a little bit and do the opposite side. And now I got basically both of these set up with that material. And that's pretty much it for that. Now, I thought it'd be nice to add in something else here. So we can go back to this side view here. I want to put a handle in this. Again, this is a bigger form, so just got to be careful with sizes of something like this. Because again, if you're going to angle, it's going to look really flat. And if it's going to be a lot bigger at an angle, then you're fine. But you got to make sure you add in some parallax to that angle. So let's go and click on this, and again, hit the D key. Now, I got a lot of different other shapes in here. I have things like all these shapes here that come with it. This is a handle that I created. These are just different type of, you know, like modules. So if I want to go in here, I can scale this down again. And let's say I want to do something with this, but I just want to make this a little bit smaller. Just add some different characteristics to this. I can hit the G key and kind of just put this over here somewhere. And we can rotate this. So we can rotate this basically like like that. And you can actually go in here and type that in. It went 90 degrees, but we can just do negative 90. So it's exactly right. All right, cool. And then what we can do is we can actually do a Shift D to this as well. And we can put one over here. So it's kind of like, just forming a nice looking variety of things here, right? So now if you kind of move over, you kind of see that that's going to kind of be hidden on that edge here, and it gives like a plug of some sort. And yeah, that's really pretty cool looking. It's easy to do. So this one, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to keep them separately. I just don't want to deal with any issues with this. So I'm going to actually hit the D key again. We're going to project with this and just drop it. Cool. All right, so now these are dropped, and these are separate entities now. We'll do D. I'm going to adjust it, hit D again. We're just going to bring this down like at 2, just like that. This way it just has a little bit of thickness to it. All right, so now we got these two. We can go in and do the mirror again by using this and opposite side. Now, it only took the one. That's fine. We can go here and select this again, or this one. And again, we can also do mirror in this one. So I'll do the same thing, mirror. And yeah, that's it. So we got those now done. And I thought would be really nice too is also putting a nice handle on this. So let's go ahead and go back. Again, select it, hit the D key. And I got all these other objects in here as well. I have these forms. This is the handle I want to bring in. I also have all these different shapes too. Some have actually colors in them, lighting, emissions, things like that. So just all kinds of sci-fi type objects. All right. So here we go. So this is going to also be pretty cool, but let's go with this again. And I'm going to go down to the handle. Scale this down. And I want to bring this closer to this edge here. So G. And I want it to be big enough that when we're picking this up, see, I don't want to go past that edge, right? That will kind of really hurt us there. And yeah, that looks really cool from a distance. At angle, it looks real. It has that effect, right? So now if I go in here, and one thing I'll have to do, of course, is lay this down. So I'm going to hit D. I'm going to hit project with the Alt key. And let's go and just bring it down. Okay, cool. So let's kind of look at the colors now. So we can match, we can rotate, we can change the colors. We can do like a really crazy red. This, all kinds of stuff. I think this is kind of cool. Yeah, I kind of like this. That looks nice. All right. So one thing we can do here is just kind of, again, we can add a little bit of parallax to this. So hit the D key. We can go adjust and hit D again. And then we just move it down a little bit. So it kind of like, it pulls it down into the space, right? It just gives that effect that it's down. Really cool. Easy to use. And now that we've done this, we can go in here again. And we can do the mirror. And same thing, right to the side. Here we go. So that's cool. So now we can do the Alt-H to unhide everything. All right, so this is an example of without the decals, and this is the example of with decals. And again, I just want to make this kind of quick and short, but you get the idea of how to use decals when you're actually adding stuff to your models. Anyway, I thought I'd share this with you. All right, let's just go ahead and do the modeling now. All right, so I thought I'd show taking the existing model that we already created and just kind of modifying it and making it a little bit differently than the first model. And I'm going to do a time lapse of this, and just to make it quick and easy, just you can watch it if you want, so you can actually understand how to take something that you've already created and kind of just make it different and work it out. So again, if anybody would like to get a little bit more understanding, please don't hesitate to add some comments to the conversation, and I'll be glad to respond. And subscribe, that'd be great. All right, so we'll go to the time lapse. Thanks for joining me.